to her body. Now, NARAL and Planned Parenthood come out in full force opposing those measures. But how is that pro-woman? How is that feminist to oppose right-to-know measures? Do they want these women to be ignorant? Apparently, there are physical and psychological effects of abortion. There are millions of women who have actually spoken out about these effects. And there's also effects on their future fertility. And yet, none of this is told to women. October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, which I'm sure you all are aware of because you cannot ignore the pink everywhere. On my flight here, the stewardesses were wearing pink dresses, and all the flight people were wearing pink ties, and it was pink everywhere. They even have pink now on beer. It's everywhere. So you can't ignore it. There's Save the Tatas written everywhere and Find a Cure. But did you know that every other cancer besides breast cancer has decreased in the last 30 years, but breast cancer has increased? And the reason for that, Dr. Nadal, a professor of medical microbiology, genetics, anatomy, physiology, biochemistry, and molecular biology for the past 16 years, who's a member of the New York Academy of Sciences, so those are his credentials, he asks what we're willing to do for a cure. Because there's a wealth of scientific literature that shows at least a 50% increase in breast cancer after an abortion. And 30% increase if a woman has already had one child and then gets an abortion. That's a huge percentage increase of risk of breast cancer. And if you want to know the connection, the biology behind it, come ask me afterwards or even in the Q&A and I'll explain it to you. Teenagers who have an abortion before 18 and have a family history have astronomically high risk of developing breast cancer. There are two main institutes that are both led by women who make it their life work to get the truth out about this connection between breast cancer and abortion. And yet, while there exists a wealth of evidence about this link, it's been suppressed and denied at the highest levels because of politics and counterfeit feminism. Something that women could be doing to lessen their chance of breast cancer is not being told to them because of politics and counterfeit feminism. I don't think that's empowering. The next point is that true feminism eliminates coercion. This might seem like another obvious point, but I'm going to demonstrate again that this is not talked about by counterfeit feminists. I recently attended a presentation by a man named Steve Mosher, who in 1979 became the first American social scientist allowed into China to do research. And the experience changed his life and turned him into a human rights activist. China's one-child policy had just gone into effect, and it has had harrowing consequences for families, human rights, and feminism. It started in 1980, and Steve, while he was there, witnessed countless women being forced to abort their babies against their will, including some women who were actually in the process of giving birth, in labor. And their children were killed before they came out of the womb because of the one-child policy. But you might think, well, in 1980, that was 30 years ago, right? Actually, he was just there, and he met a woman named Li Ping who had fresh bruises on her arm. And he asked her what had happened, and she had said that she had carried what they call an illegal child. And the population police, they have population police and illegal children there, had caught her and dragged her to an abortion facility, and she fought back. So she had bruises on her arms. But she ultimately lost the battle because she was pregnant and she couldn't fight hard enough. And they held her down, and a doctor injected her belly with a poison that killed her child, and she gave birth. Then they dropped the dead child in a bucket at her feet and said, "This is an illegal child, you dispose of it," and left her. He has pictures of this, so he has it all documented. And there was also banners hanging in the villages that read, "Crack down with no mercy on unauthorized births. Violators who can make an escape for the moment can't hide forever." So this is a very real thing that's happening. Once again, where is now in NARAL? Where are the feminists who are fighting this policy? They're silent because I believe their feminism is counterfeit. There was recently an event in D.C. because China's premier was in town, and Chris Smith of New Jersey, a congressman, wanted to commemorate the lives lost from the one-child policy. And so he challenged President Obama to say something to the premier who was in town. But he didn't, and none of the feminists of NARAL and NOW said anything about it. All right, okay, maybe this is happening in China, but is it happening in the Western world? Is it happening anywhere else? Yes, it is. A few weeks ago, a Canadian couple discovered their child, who was being carried by a surrogate mother, had Down syndrome. So they no longer wanted their baby. And they told the surrogate mother to abort, and she didn't want to because she was against abortion. They threatened to withdraw support and not help her at all if she didn't abort. And she wasn't prepared for this. She felt alone and unsupported. So she aborted against her will. And what do you think the reaction was? From a well-known feminist blog called Jezebel. You can look them up later. They're pretty well known in feminist circles. This is a direct quote from their website about this story. It's unfortunate that she had to take a step she never wanted to take, but it's hard to see another fair way to resolve the situation. Unfortunate? Coerced abortion is unfortunate. What about that woman's rights who didn't want the abortion? This is why they are counterfeit feminists. They should have been clamoring to support her. They should have been saying, no, if you don't want to do this, we'll help you. Don't worry about losing support from the biological parents. But no, they said it was unfortunate, but that she should have done it. But true feminism eliminates coercion. No feminist who's pro-woman should be supporting any coercive activities. Another way that women feel coerced into abortion is by lack of support. The Alan Guttmacher Institute, which is a research arm of Planned Parenthood, said that there are two primary reasons that women abort: lack of financial support and lack of emotional support. Those are the two main reasons. And yet, NARAL, which is, I never explained NARAL, they're the National Abortion Rights Action League, that's what it stands for. They're currently working to shut down pregnancy help centers. They say that these centers lie to women in order to get them to keep their babies. There are nearly 4,000 of these pregnancy help centers, and everything they do is free. Every single thing. They provide food, clothing, housing, furniture, counseling, classes on childbirth and parenting, bilingual services, adoption, and even post-abortion healing. All for free. And NARAL's trying to shut them down. These are where pro-life feminists walk their talk and help women in need. But these centers struggle to make ends meet. You can ask anyone who works for a pregnancy help center, and they're always struggling for money. On the other hand, Planned Parenthood actually gets tax money from us. They are swimming in money. They get millions. And yet they charge for their services. They charge for this help of abortion. So who really is the feminist here? Who's really offering legitimate help at no charge? And why isn't NARAL coming down on these abortion facilities that convince women they only have one choice? It's not pro-choice if there's one choice. Because they're counterfeit feminists, that's why. My next point is that true feminism embraces the natural woman. You might think of feminists as maybe hair under their armpits, don't shave their legs, burning their bras, or maybe not. But really, true feminists embrace the natural woman in a different way than you might be thinking. Even the most radical feminists can't deny that men and women are biologically different. You just can't deny it. From the time you can see a human being that's male and female, they're different. Then why should a woman, in order to be equal with a man, have to deny, tamper with, or go counter to her natural biology? This seems to be what counterfeit feminists are saying when they promote abortion as a stepping stone to equality. Shouldn't women be inherently equal to men, just as we are, with our childbearing abilities and all, without having to thwart our natural biology? A hero of the counterfeit feminist movement is Margaret Sanger. She's the founder of Planned Parenthood, and she was a eugenicist, which means she wanted to create a master race. And she believed that female fertility, the ability of females to have children, is a chaotic force that must be controlled. So this is what she started, this idea that a woman's natural physiological makeup was something that should be controlled, that was chaotic and evil. Rather than viewing childbearing as a gift, something that guys don't have the pleasure of being able to do, they aren't able to carry a human being inside of them, counterfeit feminists see it as a curse to be avoided at all costs. Alice Walker is a well-known feminist and a Pulitzer Prize-winning author of The Color Purple. You guys might have seen the Whoopi Goldberg movie, The Color Purple. It's based off of her book. In 2008, her daughter Rebecca Walker wrote an expose that was titled, "How My Mother's Fanatical Views Tore Us Apart." And I want to read you a little bit from that expose. This is the daughter of a well-known feminist. "I love the way his head nestles in the crook of my neck. I love the way his face falls into a mask of eager concentration when I help him learn the alphabet. But most of all, I love hearing his little voice calling, 'Mommy, Mommy.' The truth is, I very nearly missed out on becoming a mother, thanks to being brought up by a rabid feminist who thought motherhood was about the worst thing that could happen to a woman. You see, my mom taught me that children enslave women. I grew up believing that children are millstones around your neck, and the idea that motherhood can make you blissfully happy is a complete fairy tale. But in fact, having a child has been the most rewarding experience of my life. Far from enslaving me, 3.5-year-old Tenzin has opened my world. My only regret is that I discovered the joys of motherhood so late. I have been trying for a second child for 2 years, but so far, no luck." When Rebecca told her mother, Alice Walker, this woman revered by feminists, that she was pregnant, her mother disowned her for daring to question her ideology. So this woman, Alice Walker, who's a hero of now and NARAL feminists, has never met her own grandson, all in the name of feminism. Rebecca contends it's time to puncture the myth and reveal what life was really like to grow up as a child of the feminist revolution. After having an abortion herself at 14, Rebecca admits, for feminists to say abortion carries no consequences is simply wrong. Rebecca Walker calls her mother a rabid feminist. I think rabid is an accurate description. So rabid that attacking our own children, both born and preborn, physically or emotionally, has become a celebrated right. But true feminism embraces the natural woman. The counterfeit feminist movement has resulted in millions of women who have ignored and short-circuited their own biology, only to later realize they want children, but by then it's too late. Rebecca Walker puts it very well. Feminism has betrayed an entire generation of women into childlessness. It's devastating. I believe feminism is an experiment, and all experiments need to be assessed on their results. Then, when you see huge mistakes have been made, you make alterations. Well, I believe these alterations are genuine feminists that are emerging in this generation. And I believe these emerging generation of feminists will endure. And that's the last E, that true feminism endures.